Hey kids, Inverted Cow here. Welcome back to Empyrion. I've just spent the last couple or 3 days doing a little bit of planetary excavation. I have removed all natural resources, took out a couple of the small bases that were down here, as well as completely obliterated the drone base. I have quite a stockpile of inventory. Most of my chest storage units are full of ores or metal plates or whatever, and I've cleaned up down here. I've stocked up the refrigerators. I have all my fuel tanks filled up except for whatever I have consumed while sitting here idling and finishing off. This was the little hover vessel wannabe that I made to blast into that one little base, and I've got another one, or the other scavenger, tucked over here someplace. So I'm going to say let's leave planet Omicron and head to space. Before I head to the moon, however, I'm thinking that I want to do one little experiment. So we'll change our point of view and we'll leave this place. I do really wish that you could change your perspectives, but I think I figured out what the problem is. The perspective centers on the core, which is what the problem is with the Viper, and this thing, of course, as well, because the core is right underneath the bridge. I'm gonna get into space sometime soon here. Come on. So, one of the problems I was having with the Viper, when I try to fly it, my perspective is all skewed. So I have an idea to try to adjust that. I'm going to do is actually basically just rebuild this. I'm not really going to change anything. It's just when I first built this, I made the core, I put it underneath, I moved the core in behind the cockpit in this solid block of armor here. And I realized I can't see anything. The other problem I have, of course, is whenever I land, there is enough clearance between this and that to just squeeze in there, and I mean just. So I'm thinking that I might do is actually bring this landing, or the landing bay here, just kind of bring it up one more block, like just step it back a bit more and bring it up one more block, like probably behind this gun or something. And I might just do that on both sides, just to kind of make it a little bit taller in the middle for landing. So I do have a bunch of junk in my inventory, so I'm going to empty my pockets real quick here. So I'm going to kind of just speed lapse through this a little bit. It's just going to be a complete takedown and rebuild of the Viper. I am missing a couple thruster components. I might actually have to grab a few things here and there. But again, because space doesn't throw stuff away, it's real easy to kind of just step back a bit and do it. I also discovered a few little issues with this ship on the planet that I ran into. One of them was, of course, the lack of upward thrust. I actually installed 2 additional thrusters in the back there and 2 additional thrusters underneath the center cockpit here. So I'm going to start by laying out essentially right the same thing, but I'm going to move the core back between the main engines slightly. So we're going to see if we can make this work. So I'll quit yakking and get into building here. Okay, kids, we're back. Yeah, after I deleted the core on that halfway through there, I suddenly found that all of the components I was harvesting became just broken down to base components, and that made it almost impossible to do anything. So I had to rebuild almost half basically the forward half of the ship had to be rebuilt from scratch. So here we have it. I haven't painted it yet or adjusted the settings, but there it is. It's all fired up. It's basically exactly the same as it was before. I've replaced. I moved the RCS units from inside here to in between the motors. I put larger or the medium-sized thrusters underneath here for lift. I kept these two in the back, and I added one to the nose here. I have two nose cone thrusters for braking, plus one underneath here. It really isn't it isn't precise, but it is what it is. But if you take it from a third-person perspective, you can at least see the front of the ship, or the tail fingers on it, if you're flying it around. It still accelerates. I've only got a little bit of fuel left in it, but you hit the go button and it goes. Very nicely, in fact. Just a little bit of thrust and we're already 1,000 meters away. It over controls very, very, very easily. But I mean, it's a fast, light fighter. That's what it's supposed to do. It's not exactly going to stop on a dime and give you 5 cents change. This thing is going to blow past the dime and come back for a return. So, yeah, I still wish I could actually have gotten this perspective slightly further back, but I don't know if it's something off the cab or something off of the player, or some combination, or what, but yeah, the third person perspectives, I would like to see that improved a little bit more, but that's no big deal. Anyhow, I was going to do a little bit more repairs on the ship, but this actually took about 4 hours, and therefore into the time that I normally would spend doing something else. I'm not sure if I have edited this down. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. But if I have edited this down and I've got it down to like only 5 or 10 minutes, then I'm going to pick up another project that I've wanted to get done. Let's see if I can land this thing. Let's get the first person here. After the issues on the planet where I needed to retrofit this little harvester, or this little scavenger truck, to drill through, I have been seriously thinking about refitting or making an actual small vessel strictly for going into bases. So I'm not talking, it's not going to have constructors. It probably will have refrigerators and cargo boxes, definitely oxygen tanks, and an oxygen station, and a lot of guns. Probably going to have a couple of the Gatlings but I'm thinking more rockets of some kind as well. Basically a pair of Gatlings and probably a pair of rockets, strictly for punching holes in the doors, in walls and such. I've been kind of kicking around the idea of having a longer, thin, using the 2-block wide cockpit, and basically just straight back 2 blocks wide and 3 blocks high kind of thing, or 4 blocks high, and make it actually a small vessel rather than a hover vessel, and use that for getting into some of those really nasty little things. However, if I make it long, then it means it doesn't turn corners. So I'm kind of still kicking around ideas. It might end up being just a refit of the hover vessel, but it will actually be a small vessel version of the hover vessel, 3 or 4 blocks wide, and yeah, it's carrying enough firepower to knock a hole through the wall if I have to make a dent. Probably a smaller, lower profile cockpit if I can find one. And there we have it, kids. Thanks all for watching. I'm still going to paint this thing up, get it all prettified and whatnot. I don't know. There's some adjustments I have to make. I mean, obviously the nose landing gear is not touching to the ground anymore. I think I have the wrong landing gear on. This was supposed to be short landing gear as well, and I think it almost looks like it. Yeah, so it will fit under here. It's cranky. But I'm thinking if I put the shorter landing gear on, I should be able to fly underneath here without too much grief. I changed with a stubby wing on the top, and I'm not sure if I like it or not. I changed the location and such. So, yeah, version 2, we're not sure if we like it yet. We're still bugging it out. So, there we have it, kids. That was me rambling on way too long. Thanks all for watching. This is what happens when I game way too much from one day. Thanks all for watching, kids, and good night for now.